This is a message from your guides reading for Family of Light. So I have 3 crystals over here for you. Let's see. I have my sodalite, which is a third eye and also throat chakra stone. I have my lapis lazuli, which is also a third eye and throat chakra stone. And then I have my malachite, which is a really grounding stone, and it also aids with psychic protection. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and surround us in some protective space for the reading with my lapis lazuli. Okay, so I always kind of assume that you're a student because there's always this energy almost like you're focusing on something or you're studying something. And so there's this feeling like your guides help you to focus. When it comes to like studies as well, it feels like they help you to pass things, they help you to focus on things. And I definitely feel some kind of studies in your future, some kind of schooling in your future. So it doesn't feel like you're only going to be focusing solely on like spiritual things. Even though obviously there's a kind of even though obviously there's a spiritual slant that you would have with most things just because that's who you are naturally. But it does feel like studying, it feels like also some type of extra curricular kind of activity as well. So not only expressing your more logical mind, but also making sure that you're using your creative mind as well. And it just feels like there's going to be some things that you're almost gathering or like collecting. Like you're collecting data, you're collecting just information. And it just feels like this helps you later on. It feels like a lot of people get like a degree and this just helps them get some experience in something, whether they end up using that specific degree or not. But it can help a person with a lot of things. Obviously, it can help them with things like getting a job, but it can also help them even just in the way of confidence, and they passed something, they excelled with something, they advanced with something, they know who they are a little bit more. So you feel a little bit calmer, a little bit sturdier and more solid when it comes to your physical surroundings, and just that you've achieved something like there's also like a level of achievement. There's also a kind of drive. It helps you to focus. And they're saying that you don't really know where that could end up leading you. Even if your focus is still primarily spiritual things, when it just comes to who you are and your overall path in a sense, because that's definitely there very strongly, this sense of a spiritual career, even. Spiritual path, spiritual based career. But there are definitely different ways to do that, but there are also different paths to getting there. And it feels like both sides of your mind are going to be stretched. So your logical mind, your creative mind, and using both to kind of figure out your place, what you're going to be doing, all of those things, what you're going to be mastering. Obviously, school can as well be done in different ways, but there is a feeling of a kind of sort of standard type of schooling with this energy as well. So like a kind of standard degree. And then like you can kind of offshoot that into a variety of things, obviously. So some of this feels like it has to do with your just inner growth and expansion. Like they were saying, it's confidence building. So your self-esteem goes up. You feel a little bit more comfortable. then boom, these sort of enhancements start really appearing where they're really noticeable, where they're really doing something. So right now, they're saying that it might be a little bit more subtle. But they're saying that your intuition is strong. Your intuition is intact. And you have to just keep following that. Because they're saying that that's your strongest asset. They're saying that you've always been very intuitive. So you have this kind of knowing and understanding that sort of drives you, drives everything that you're doing. So they're saying that you have to understand that and respect that and move forward out of that. They're also saying that you have had a lot of spiritual lifetimes. Where you were doing a lot of spiritual things, but then you've also had lifetimes where now still there's still this kind of spiritual type of feeling to it. You're still expanding, you're growing, you're sort of expanding your knowledge of the universe and the world around you. And you still have a kind of spiritual approach to things, but it feels almost more scientific. Like you're some type of scientist, you're doing some kind of science, but you're almost mixing some spirituality into it. Just because, again, that's like who you are and what you bring through with whatever you're going to be doing in any lifetime. Obviously, we can have different themes in different lifetimes, various ones, or we can be going through different things. Obviously, I'm sure, you know, there are lifetimes where maybe you were doing something else, maybe you were discovering something else, maybe you were off your path. Who knows? But sort of generally speaking, or like the majority of the time or most of the lives that you've had, were more this way that they're saying. They were more spiritually bent, even if you were doing something, even using your logical mind a little bit more. It all still was grounded in spirituality, it feels like. There's also this sense of like nature and animals that you've had in some of those lifetimes specifically. There's also a feeling of like the stars, the cosmos, things like that. But especially this feeling of animals and just sort of nature in general. Because even when you think about stars and studying planets, it's other planets. Some of them are empty and barren, but still, in a sense, it still feels like nature in a sense. Because you're still studying a planet, you know, could there be life on it? You're still exploring in the universe, and nature is really all around us. So space is a very different kind of environment, but it can still be thought of as nature in a sense. But obviously, they're talking about also the majority of these lifetimes, including nature in a more specific way, where they're talking about Earth, at least when it comes to the lifetimes that you had on Earth, where they're talking about Earth or the planet that you were on, and studying that and incorporating different things with that. So some of it feels like health related, medicines, and even things like healing herbs. But then some of this feels a little bit more advanced, like you weren't necessarily on this planet. So there's a feeling of both. There's a feeling of like medicines with herbs, and you're studying the nature around you, and it's still very scientific, but it's scientific for the time as well. But then there's another feeling of kind of more advanced science. And they're showing me this picture as well where it's almost like you're using a computer, but it's more advanced. You're standing up, and it's like the screen is almost like very translucent, and images and different things are appearing on it. And it feels like you can sort of talk to it, and different programs and things can come up. And the images can move. You can move them around. You can look at them from different angles. And I keep seeing a picture of like of whatever type of, some kind of humanoid body, whatever kind of body this was, whatever kind of body this is, this feels like almost like you're studying the DNA of it, and it has something to do with medicines and health, and curing things. And there's also like a lot of glass around you, or whatever kind of material it is that they're using, but it looks like glass. So there's a lot of light coming in. It's still kind of low level light, but you don't have any lights on in the building that I can see that they're showing me. It looks like just a lot of natural light is coming in, and it's daytime. And this the nature that they're showing me looks a little bit similar to Earth. They're showing me mountains. They look very green. There's like a lot of green trees all around you. It looks like you're somewhere kind of up, like up near, like up in the mountains or something. There's a lot of green all around you. And this planet is definitely, well, they're giving me this word like restored and healed. So I don't know if it did go through something, but at this point where they're showing me, it's very green. The people have sort of successfully accomplished a balance with nature, which means that you're mostly seeing nature all over the place. Even though they have technologies, but they sort of weld it into the nature around them. So they have houses and they have communities and things. But they're not just bombarding their planet with gases and fumes and cutting down trees and all of these different things. They're sort of they're sort of like infusing their lifestyle into nature. It does feel like they might cut down a few trees, but it also feels like they plant new ones, but then also just mostly they don't. There's just too many trees around that they're showing me to feel like they are just destroying plant populations like we do here. Okay, so that is the end of this reading. That is what your guides have to say for now. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this reading for you. As always, I truly hope that it benefits you. Namaste.